would you feel your legacy is in professional wrestling? Because we've hit it out of the park with what you've meant to the big man, to the business, but what does it mean to you for what you've left in professional wrestling?
I think myself, guys like myself, guys like Stan Hansen, guys like Bam Bam Bigelow. Hansen is one of the best big men in the history of professional wrestling. I think Bam Bam Bigelow is one of the best big men in professional wrestling. And I think Mark Calloway is, if not the best, one of the best big men / giants in the business. I think for me, I kind of fit in two categories where I'm a big man / super heavyweight, and where Calloway's a big man / giant. So there's all kinds of ranking. We're a big show. I mean, he's a giant, period. Andre was a giant, period. There's like Yokozuna, where he would be a super heavyweight without question. I mean, he was. So the thing that I thought is, having been brought up with Brody and Hansen and Blackwell, and I kind of saw my role was, to be the big guy that could wrestle 30 minutes, and I made it a point for me to always be the guy getting up off the deck first, regardless. And if you watch some of my matches with Sting and Inoki into the later minutes, the 25, let's say this time after 20 minutes, whenever we would both be on the ground, you would see me getting up first. And I made it a point to do that, and I thought that any good big man worth his salt would not just wrestle the five, and although sometimes matches do go short of 5 minutes and 10-minute matches, I made it a point to stretch my opponent out and not just win, but entertain along with that win. Take the match 20 and 25 minutes, and I on top of being able to put the time in, which is something I prided myself on, was the ability to drop kick and go up to the top rope and throw a moonsault and show things agility wise that 400-pound people just didn't do. And I think I achieved those two things very well. I was very representative in terms of, Leon, can you go 30 minutes tonight? Well, yes, I can. And, can you throw that moonsault tonight? Can you do this? And I did things that wasn't necessarily the norm for, a super heavyweight or, a man my size. And let's face it, my days in the WCW, I was 417 pounds. They billed me heavier than that, but, that was a legitimate weight. So I prided myself on those things. And I hate to, I was asked, could you tell us about Stan Hansen? What would you say? Well, Stan wasn't just good for a big man. I hated that. It was good for anybody. I mean, you could compare Stan to Shawn Michaels. I mean, Stan doing 30 minutes over in Japan with somebody that's, 5 or 6 inches shorter than him and maybe 50 or 60 or 70 pounds lighter than him, and Stan being able to keep up with that guy for a half hour. That's talent. That's why that's why he's a Hall of Famer. And I growing up with Stan and really breaking in with Stan and Brody and Blackwell, that's the same thing that I prided myself on, is that very same thing. And then and even taking it a step further would be going into the moves that big guys just didn't do before me. And really not many since then. I mean, Bam Bam and it was kind of odd that, 2 400-pounders would come in and be able to drop kick and do those things, and then, not really many since then. So those two things. But you know what, I would, if you'd let me here, just kind of close this out. I've really kind of, I regret tweeting out. In other words, when I got diagnosed, that hey, Leon, you you have a bad heart, and you have congestive heart failure, and we feel that your time is limited. You have maybe a couple of years left, and 2 years or less left to live. And I remember getting very angry and saying that this has got to be bullshit. I don't feel bad. I don't getting extremely angry. And just since that time, I remember when I got the news, I left the hospital. I got a ride over to the gym, and I rode the bike for a half hour, hard as I could, and then got off the bike and then got on the treadmill and walked, for another 15 minutes, pretty hard. And I was exhausted, but my heart felt fine. I said, now how can I do that if my heart's going to give out? And the doctor, in some of the ongoing appointments that I had with him, explained to me that, when you were tipping the scales at 400 and 420 and 25 pounds, that, a man that size and that heavy just isn't supposed to be able to push himself in a cardiovascular endeavor, no matter what it is, much past 2 or 3 minutes, because the heart is going to be strained because of the weight. So something I prided myself in, what I just got through saying, was, being able to push myself into the 15-minute mark and the 20-minute mark and even the 30-minute mark and beyond. I've done several 1-hour, matches. And so, but where someone like a Sting would be able to do that and not damage himself, they're saying because I was continued to go at a high rate, for longer periods of time, that's how, in a man my size, that's how I damaged my heart, and that the heart was basically worn out at this point, and that all the football days, when I'm talking about, at the end of a practice, I remember, the coach would be upset because we lost, and then we had a bad practice or whatever it was, but you would run a 40-yard dash for conditioning, and you'd run 10 of them, which was really hard, and you'd do so just with just a few seconds rest, maybe 15 seconds rest between each one, and then you'd say, okay, let's do another 10, because so and so said something, and then you do another 10, and pretty soon you're doing 40 and 50 of these things, and I certainly wasn't 400 pounds when I was playing football, but I was 320, 330. And this conditioning didn't do my heart any good either. So I kind of wished, I think in closing, I kind of wished I hadn't brought it up. I am continuing to wrestle. I am continuing. And someone said, well, aren't you afraid? Why would you get a booking at this point when you've had this type of diagnosis? And I said, brother, what would you rather die in a bed at home or in the hospital, or would you rather die in front of 10,000 people having fun in the ring? So if it's true, if this doctor isn't just totally full of shit, which that's what I'm betting on, and I should say these doctors at this point, that's my choice, and that's the way I prove. That's the way I decide to go out. If this thing's going to happen, I'd rather be in a ring anywhere than compared to sitting in a hospital room, in a hospital bed, sitting there like some sheep getting ready to be slaughtered. It's not who I am, and it's not the way it's going to happen with me. And I really believe in my heart that this thing isn't going to happen. I don't know if I'll live to be 80 years old, but I can tell you this 2-year diagnosis is just wrong. I'm going to prove it wrong. And I don't really care what they're saying. And we'll see what happens, I guess, and certainly there's no way around that. But I've got, I'm booked in Japan to wrestle, and I'm booked throughout America to wrestle. I've got other bookings to sign autographs, and if any of you guys want me at your show, I'll give the information to these guys, and you can call them and get an email and a phone number on me and give me a call, because that's something that's very important to me, is that, if it is my time to say goodbye and move on to, what the next level is, whatever's next, then so be it. But I'm simply not going to go out like that, man. I'm going out fighting. I'm going out positive, and shit, man. And here's another thing too. If you're feeling sorry for me, don't be, man. Because I tell you what, I've lived a life that's, second to none. I've literally been around the world 10 times. I was a high school All-American and a college All-American, and I got drafted to the Rams, and drafted in the NFL and played in the Super Bowl. And I don't know how many world titles I have, 16, 18, 20 world titles, and 27, 28 titles altogether. I've had a 30-year career in wrestling, and I tell you what, it just, I've never missed a meal. I've never been without money, and in fact, most of my life I've had quite a bit of money. I was always smart with my money, invested well. So hey, you know what? If at 60, I don't have long left, then so be it. But don't feel sorry for me, man, because I've lived a great life, and I'm thankful for the time I've had.